Hey there! We just wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of you who have listened, shared, engaged, and sent us love. It means the world to know that we've had the chance to spread even just a little bit of knowledge, insight, and encouragement to you along your health journeys.
If you'd like to support the work we're doing, we've created a Patreon page where you can earn some exciting rewards, because being a part of the HIP team isn't just a hobby, it's a lifestyle.
Contributions start as low as $1 a month, with each level offering a number of super fun perks, like monthly bonus episodes, Q&As, a portrait drawn by our own in-house artist, and even personal chats with the Health It's Personal team.
We created this podcast so that everyone can have the chance to access informative, inspirational, and insightful stories, and your support is a huge step in us reaching those who need it most. We wish we could give you all a big hug, but hopefully this will suffice, at least until we're allowed to hug again.
If you love what you hear or are as passionate about health as we are, please visit patreon.com/thehip podcast. That's patreon.com/the HIP podcast. We couldn't do this without you, so thank you again, and thanks in advance for joining our ever-growing HIP family.
Welcome everyone to the Health It's Personal podcast. We are deep into our nutrition series now, and we just had such an informative and inspiring conversation with Ayurvedic coach and chef Austin Vantastic. He shared with us his health journey and how he kind of started out as working in the media industry in New York and LA and was kind of burning out a little bit. And he had an epiphany one day when he was dealing with some really intense health issues. And that's where he kind of found Ayurveda, and it just transformed his life. And I think it was so interesting to hear how you can think you're going down one path.
Yes, isn't that true? I feel like that happens to more people than we think.
Yeah.
That you're heading down a path, you think that it's kind of like the work you're going to do your entire life, and then you pivot.
Yeah.
And all of the things that you learned before kind of contribute to the thing that you're changing or growing into. And it's really cool. And his story is so beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. He was really great to talk with, and we kind of wish that we could have hung out with him forever. And
I know.
Yeah.
Really, really did.
Or hang out with him in person, because we were lucky
Yes.
enough to have him call in from India, where he is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Something that is really cool about what he does is that Ayurveda is kind of a complex philosophy. It's intricate. And when you learn something new, it takes time to really fully understand it. And with our busy lives, sometimes it seems like, well, that's too complex for me or whatever. But what he does is he's the expert. And so he gets to know the person, asks a lot of questions, and helps them get to know themselves, and then just gives them really practical things that they can do to make changes in their lives. And it's a process. It doesn't happen all at once, and you don't have to understand all of the pieces of it. You just have to see the value in it.
I loved how he brought that up, because he kind of discussed it in terms of these are tools that we can use to kind of understand things and kind of figure out what we might need to balance in our lives. But at the same time, we should not generalize, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. And that's something we've been hearing from so many different people, whether it's nutrition or anxiety or beyond. And those generalizations, the stereotypes that we might associate with them, we have to be aware of, kind of falling into those pitfalls, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And he has this new course that he created centered around your energy, because he said that the one question that every single person asks when they get a consultation from him is how they can have more energy. And he said that there are so many ways that we are depleting our energy, and we're in what he calls energetic debt. My biggest takeaway from this conversation, and something that I like to remember when I'm learning about any new practice, is that the root of all of these things is to be mindful and to get to know yourself, your body, and your mind, and then use these interesting practices as tools, that the guidelines of these aren't so rigid, that you can make them fit your lifestyle, and it's a process.
Yeah, only if you want them to be. If it's something like with Austin, where he immediately felt all the feels when he learned about this new practice, and he knew that this was his life's work, that's one aspect of it. But there are other ways to take the practical wisdom and use them in order to best serve yourself. I love that he and many other people that we talk to in this series talk a lot about how the digestive system is really central to the way that we feel. And that's one way that we can be more mindful and get to know ourselves in order to feel our best.
Absolutely. And we really just want to be our authentic selves, our true selves. And all of these different approaches are wonderful ways that we can use to inspire our own selves to become who we should be or want to be.
Something that we didn't talk about in the interview, but that I find so interesting about him is that he went on a cross-country trip once and he strapped a Vitamix to the back of his motorcycle.
Yep.
And I think that's so funny and so genius because obviously, like me and like all of us, he values a super smooth smoothie. So, I mean,
there's no substitute.
Yeah, but it's funny because we talk about stimulants in the episode and how caffeine affects your body and your mind. And I remember one time Mom brought a...
Oh, I knew you were going to bring this up.
Mom brought a Keurig cross country.
And I plugged it in right between the two front seats.
Plugged the Keurig right into the car so we could have coffee on our road trip.
Sorry, Austin. It just was really important.
So, the same but different.
I'd like to think that I would put my Vitamix there now.
Yeah, next time.
For the record, this was pre-health journey.
Yeah, this is yeah.
So since we had the privilege to see Austin over video chat, I did notice that he had a ton of amazing, beautiful tattoos that I wish that we would have asked him about because I was curious.
I was thinking the same thing. Yes.
But I just wanted to do a shout out to the beautiful artwork on his body. That sounds weird. I was halfway through the sentence, so I have to finish it. There's no other way to finish it.
I think he knows we have good intentions. Yeah. I don't know.
So I was with you on that about how cool his tattoos looked. And also he had such a beautiful sense of self and personality and spirit about him. And he attributes that to his daily practices. And so thinking about how we start our day, remembering Michael Miller's morning practice, and also Austin was really great about sharing how he starts his day. And no matter how you start your day, being mindful and knowing this is how I want to start my day because it's what works for me, and then doing that instead of just letting the day take control of you.
Yeah, make life happen. Don't let life happen to you. Yeah, be in the moment. I know that throughout all of these episodes, we've taken our bits of wisdom and put it into our daily practices. And I know this is going to be exactly the same with Austin's interview. So we hope you all are able to take away some practical wisdom. And we hope you enjoy this episode. So grab a cup of tea and enjoy.
Health is understanding what you need,
being informed, finding that balance of mental and physical,
building yourself a support system,
figuring things out on my own and not letting it hold me back.
You do kind of have to advocate for yourself.
Because health, it's personal.
So first I wanted to ask you what you're doing in India. How long have you been there? You're from Detroit, right, originally?
Yeah, born and raised in Detroit. I moved to New York in 2011, so I got here to India in December 2019, and I've been here now 5 months. It's pretty wild.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's been an amazing experience. Yeah, the reason that I found myself out here 5 years ago, it was a really long story. Wow, I'll make it short. We can go deeper into it, but how did I end up in India right now? Got sick, found Ayurveda, started studying Ayurveda, graduated from Ayurvedic school in 2018.
Cool.
And then in 2019, I found a new mentor, Ayurvedic practitioner who I was studying with. Right around the same time, I was having just totally wild, spiritual experiences. I had sought out a guru for a while, and then I just kind of gave up on that whole thing. I was like, they're all gone. I was like, the age of the guru is over. I don't know. And, my spiritual practice, I had just been learning from books and things like this. It had gotten to the point where I was just I have no more control. I don't know what's going on. I need a teacher. And so my new Ayurvedic mentor was like, oh, come to India and learn from my guru. And I was like, what? You have one? You have one of those things? Yeah, I came out here to India and been studying tantric yoga with this guru. and things have been pretty cool and unfolding in new and different ways. A lot of that teaching and experiences lent itself also to my Ayurvedic education, which is amazing. Now, currently, I just enrolled in a very deep, intense herbal program. The spiritual aspect, the energetic aspect, and the physical aspect of healing, body, mind, spirit.
That's really cool. It's a really beautiful journey.
And how great that you were looking for someone and then they just kind of fell into your lap.
And I would argue that gurus are never out of style.
Do you mind just explaining what Ayurveda means to you?
So how I came to find Ayurveda, I was working in New York City, doing film and television. I worked like stupid amounts of hours, like so hard, and networking and doing all these things to try and come up in the industry. 4 years went by and I went from like production assistant to director of photography, and I was working on my first show as a director of photography for VH1. During that show, I mean, from the Ayurvedic perspective, it makes perfect sense now in retrospect, but during the time, it's like just crazy. Was working on this TV show and, meeting with like VH1 network executives and doing all these things. Director of the show, his name was the same as my dad's name. My dad had been, he'd treat me nice and they would treat me mean. They would treat me nice and they would treat me mean. And our relationship was always just like up and down as a roller coaster.
Right.
I was like, he's not your dad. It doesn't matter. You can just relax and not worry about it too much. But every single night after production, I was like going home and making a whiskey ginger and smoking a spliff and like sitting on my fire escape, like trying as fast as I can, to forget everything that had just happened during the day. Yeah, so like the hard work, crazy hours, and obviously like drinking and smoking and like all these things were not being helpful. I developed a sickness, and it started off as like a pain in my side, which I felt was, I was like, oh, maybe I pulled something or did something weird. Started carrying like heavy equipment all the time. But anyway, so that pain was like, it was growing for like 2 weeks, something like that. And then one night I was going to sleep and I was like laying in my bed and it felt like something had exploded inside of me. And I was like, oh my God, like I felt I was going to die. And I literally it was like, I said, like shredding pain across my abdominal. I started to get like tunnel vision. And I literally thought, I was just like, okay, now I'm dead. And I called 911. I put some clothes on and like just walked out to the street and tried to get outside as fast as possible in case I did, pass out or something like that happened. At least they'd be able to find me. And, they like took me on the stretcher, they did the mask, they like the whole thing all the way to the hospital. And then once I was at the hospital, it's like tests and scans. And that was the beginning of many months of tests and scans and specialists trying to figure out what was wrong with me. All these doctors, all these specialists, all this like allopathic medicine, and nothing. I don't think anybody even ever asked me if I was stressed out during the whole entire process. Except my mom. I remember she did once and I snapped at her. I was like, I'm not stressed out. Which, yeah, of course, is the response that you say when you're stressed out. So, yeah, I had gone to see every specialist that I could and done every test that I could. And after I got the final test, which had been an endoscopy, I gave up and I was just like, I don't know what to do at this point. And I prayed.
Yeah.
And in that prayer moment, which was just like a desperate cry for help, it wasn't like any formulated, please God, something. Fairly certain the prayer was like, I'm fucked, I need help. Just like, I'm screwed. Like, dude, I don't know what to do anymore. Immediately, so I had a conversation recall that it was a conversation I had had with a friend over a year prior. She told me about this meditation. And I remember at the time her telling me about this meditation, it sounded like super hippy-dippy stupid.
Right.
Like, yeah, I learned this meditation technique from my acting coach. Totally free thought, and you just sit there and it's like the lazy man's meditation. And I was like, that sounds stupid and not spiritual at all.
Yeah.
Give that a try.
But what I had remembered about that conversation is she had said that after doing the meditation for a month, her life had completely changed. And I found that to be extremely fascinating in this moment now. I was like, I could use a life change. So I hit her up. I was like, what was that meditation? And I signed up for the next available course. That meditation was Vedic meditation stemming from Ayurveda. after having started the meditation, yeah, within 1 week, my symptoms started to alleviate. Like the pain started to go away, started to feel brighter. It was like the clouds were like lifting.
Right.
And, it's like when your body's in pain every single day and kind of in fluctuating levels, I would have an attack once or twice a month. And I would just be in bed for like 2 or 3 days where it was just like shredding pain. On a day-to-day basis, it was like a hot iron prod, like on the inside, like trying to push out. It's like the cloud is starting to lift, but you kind of still have that like, something had to jump out of the bush and attack me feeling. Like you don't know if the danger is like still around the corner. As the pain was alleviating, I asked my meditation teacher, I was like, what is this stuff and how do I get some more? Because I feel better.
Yeah.
And she told me, yeah, Vedic meditation comes from Ayurveda. And working in the film and television industry, I had just flown back out to LA at this point to work on a couple of shows out there. And she pointed me to an Ayurvedic therapist. And so I started seeing them and receiving some treatment. I started to learn about my dosha, what types of foods I could eat. Yeah, in a few short months, like my whole entire life turned around. And so within that like storyline, seeing this therapist, and I was dating a girl who was working on a culinary TV show, a chef show, and I was hanging out with all the chefs from that show and cooking with them. I've always loved cooking, and so one of the chefs is like, one night we're hanging out, like cooking, he's like, you're really good at this, and you're super interested, you're like really passionate about it. If you ever wanted to learn, come work for me at my restaurant, I'll teach you everything I know.
Cool.
And it was just like, kaboosh. And a full body, yes, like hell yes. Every single cell inside my body was literally like vibrating when I felt this, immediately. I was like, oh yes, it could be this, it could be that, I could be a chef. And if I was a chef, I could be like an Ayurvedic chef, and I could teach people, how to cook and how to eat and how to live right and, incorporate all these things. And so my mind, I just started getting like really, really excited about it. Once the wheels were turning, it was just a matter of figuring out how do I make that happen.
The best feeling. All the best feelings.
Yeah, and you'd been doing the practice for so long, so you knew what it meant.
So when you decided to kind of make the shift to Ayurveda cooking, do you mind explaining more about how Ayurvedic cooking works and what those philosophies are?
Yeah, absolutely. So a quick little bit of theory, and then I'll give some practical tips. I relate the body in Ayurveda to like an oil lamp, right? So there's the clay pot, and then inside the clay pot is the oil, and then in the oil is the wick, and then on the wick itself is a flame, and then around the flame is air. So in Ayurveda, how this relates, the clay pot is the body. The oil is what we call ojas. And ojas, just as oil is externally to the world, is inside of our body. So it's our lymphatic fluid, it's our blood, it's our glandular like excretions and things like this, the synovial fluid, the spine, everything. So all of this liquid is like nurturing, it's like heavy, unctuous. The quality and level of your ojas is directly related to your immunity, your sense of well-being, again, like the serotonin, the dopamine, all those things is ojas.
Okay.
The wick and the flame, they go hand in hand. They're not separated from each other, just like the ink and the pen, it's like they're one and the same. This is tejas, the flame.
Okay.
The flame is considered as an expression of energy and transformation of energy. So it's transforming oil and fuel and cotton as the wick into heat energy, into light energy. So tejas is, the governor of, our ability to see. It's governing, the transformation of food into nutrition. It's governing, all the chemical process, all the chemical transformations inside of our body. And then prana is the air surrounding the flame. This is the hot air. And so prana does two things. One, it feeds the flame, but also it's the expression of the heat. The heat energy dissipates, through the prana, and it's what moves through the field. Like we've escaped the body, and now the energy is moving outside of us and connecting into other things around us.
It's a really beautiful way to think of it and visualize. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's so cool. Yeah.
I'm interested in the air and your energy. What does that affect?
Can you hear me right now?
Yes.
Yeah, no. I just like pop the bubble of your reality right now.
You're blowing my mind, Austin.
What is the universe? Yeah, the prana is like the ether or the air through which energetic expression occurs. And this can occur through motion, typically through motion, through communication and things like that.
That's really interesting. So is that kind of what you focus on when you're talking about your energy, making sure, that energy level is being refilled in the right ways? What's your practical advice or practical wisdom, as we always say on here, to making sure that you are not depleting your energy source?
Yeah, absolutely. If we continue with that illustration, when we take a stimulant like coffee, it's basically as if we were dripping gasoline or alcohol or something like this, a solvent, into the oil. The oil now burns hotter and faster and depletes at a higher rate. The flame becomes higher, hotter, more intense, and all that energy is burnt up and expressed out through prana.
Okay.
So what this means physiologically for your body, you drink caffeine, the ojas, which is your immunity, your blood, your endocrine system, your lymphatic system, like all that we talked about, we just like turn all those things on overhaul. Going to make all those resources very fast and like readily available. Adrenaline, cortisol, epinephrine, all these things like just start shooting, through your body, and they get expressed through increased heart rate. Your body temperature goes up, your blood veins constrict, your digestive system shuts down. You go into like artificial fight, flight, and freeze response mode. Your brain starts traveling at 1,000 miles an hour. This is the jolt, like the energy that we're all going for.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is like moving faster inside of your body, right? So this is the increased flame, and then all of that energy is dissipating through prana, through the ether. So it's through your thoughts, through your mind, through your activity, through whatever. Like all that increased energy is going somewhere. So you've effectively now just transformed a bunch of oil into hot air. You've squeezed their potential and transformed it through tejas, through the fire, into expression, into pranic expression, energetic expression. So to answer your question is like, what are the things that we can do to have energy and not, this is I think what I said earlier is like moving from a system of stimulation, running off of depletion, into a system of surplus, into rejuvenation. So we can constantly be pouring coffee or gasoline into the oil lamp, and like burning off what oil we have, and eventually get to the point where we're literally, we say, burnt out.
Yeah.
We've gone too far, right? We're burnt out. There's nothing left to burn. It's gone.
Running on empty.
Exactly. We've experienced this ourselves. It's like we have the fifth cup of coffee, in the day or the next day or something like this. Yeah, it's not doing anything. Like there's no effect. It's like, why is there no effect? Well, there's no effect because coffee, again, is you're not putting energy into your body. You're just drawing on the natural resources that you already have. And once you've depleted all those natural resources, there's nothing else to stimulate.
Right.
My fifth cup of coffee just really let me down.
It's the coffee's fault.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
So the theoretical, we understand quite well now, the ojas, the tejas, and prana. We know that the caffeine, the stimulant, is really just squeezing out the natural resources that we already have. So what are the things that we can do to move into a state of rejuvenation rather than depletion and stimulation? First off, in Ayurveda, we go through 3 phases of healing. So first is palliation, second is detoxification, and then third is rejuvenation. So in the case of coffee, the palliation stage would be continuing to use caffeine and starting to use some rejuvenative herbs and diet routine and things like this. We want to build the body into a state of strength so that the body can undergo detoxification. Once we move into the state of detoxification, then what we want to do is correct the damage that the body has undergone in the nervous system and the liver and the digestive system and the tissues and things like this. Dehydration is a massive one. Going through that process. Then once we've gone through the detoxification process, then we want to go into the rejuvenation process. And now at this point, we've built up the tissues just enough so that we can really stress them out, and go through this detoxification process. Now we need to rebuild those things that we were talking about. It's like the ojas, the tejas, and the prana. And the ojas, the tejas, and the prana, we can look at as like a whole body system, but also every single organ in your body, every single cell inside your body has this ojas, tejas, and prana. It has these energetic forces behind it at the core of its survival.
All right.
Inside the body, then, we would start with building the ojas, and that would be the fuel, right? So we would start feeding the fuel system inside the body. And how that would look for the nervous system would be like ashwagandha and shatavari, and these are both considered as rejuvenatives and adaptogens. The ashwagandha for the sympathetic nervous system and the shatavari for the parasympathetic nervous system. So they'll repair both halves of your nervous system. Then once the nervous system is working, we need to start thinking about the digestive system, right? The digestive system is where you get all your energy from. It's where ojas is built. It's where tejas is built. It's where prana is built. It's central, literally, in your body. Like it's in the middle. It's central to your body and central to your well-being. So inside in the digestive system, then we also want to start rebuilding the ojas, the tejas, and prana. And the way that we build ojas, again, ojas, if we look at it, it's like as oil, as unctuous, as healing, as nurturing, as caring, as liquid, coating, lubricating, all these things. We want to eat foods that have those qualities.
Okay.
So we want soups, we want stews, we want rice, we want easy to digest things. Maybe like warm milk is very popular in Ayurveda. If you're vegan, you can have warm alternative milks. Then we want to rebuild the Agni. The Agni and the Tejas they correlate with each other. So Agni is your metabolism, it's your digestive fire. And we want to build that fire so that all of the continuing food or fuel that we put into our body, we're transforming that food into energy, right? So it's like the oil is there. Now we got to light the wick, and that fire has to transform that oil into energy.
Mm-hmm.
So rebuilding that, we use digestive herbs like ginger, black pepper, cinnamon, cumin, cardamom, a whole host of different digestive herbs that will be digestive stimulants. And you can use a different combination of those things depending on your current state of balance and depending on your doshic predominance.
Okay.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Once we rebuild the tejas, then we also want to be nurturing the prana inside of our body. And that's the expression of the energy. And so this can come in the form of exercise. This is also can come in the form of what's called pranayama, which is a yogic practice, controlled breathing, or like pranayama. Prana, again, is like this energetic force that we've talked about. Yama means to expand. And so the different practices of pranayama to expand and strengthen our prana inside of our body. And again, the oil is feeding the flame, but the prana is also feeding the flame and encouraging like that transformation of energy.
That is completely fascinating and makes so much sense with different things that we've learned along the way about what's important about our digestive system and how it affects so many other parts of your body. But this is really complex thinking. So for someone who really wants to feel their best and appreciates Ayurvedic thinking, what can someone do? Like back in the days when Austin was, just learning about all this, what were some of the first things that you did that really made an impact on your well-being and made you realize the importance of all of this work?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wish I could just give you like a one size fits all answer for this.
Right. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great.
No. But where we can start to really hack into understanding our health and manipulating our balance and our energy is just having a few of these tools and knowing how to use them.
Listening to your body, knowing yourself. And these are all things that we should be doing anyway, right?
Yeah, I think, it's like I'm going to count myself out of this group of people is like some people are, very intuitive and they have this understanding of like, I know that whenever I do this to my body, like this happens, it's like, I would never fit in that category. I was like, that sounds tasty. I'm going to have it. Like, I feel like having this, I'm going to have it.
Yeah.
Suffering the consequences later. I wasn't, I would say like born with, the intuitive gene or whatever, but I was able to nurture that through the understanding of Ayurveda, and Ayurveda gives us that language, right? So it's like, now that I understand these types of foods and their effects on my body, I can be observant of those effects. And then I can start to make decisions based on, what is it that I want to experience? What kind of a state do I want to move into? wonderful teachers gave me this: intuition costs a lot of tuition. You gotta pay to like get the intuition.
That's true. I love that.
A little bit more, relatable aspect is like, we'll go into the cooking thing here, is like somebody who's cooks once a week or once a month, for themselves at home is not going to have the intuition of, oh, I'm making this pasta dish and, oh, it's missing something. It's like, oh, I know what it is. Boop, and they put it in there. Like that's a gut feeling, that's a gut intuition. Yeah. Because somebody who's experienced will know that something is missing and they'll put it in there and it'll be delicious. Mm-hmm. The person who cooks once a month isn't going to have that intuition. They have the sensitivity for that. And so the same thing with Ayurveda is like, you can grow that sensitivity if you want to, as I have, and, understanding the subtle energy during a consultation is like understanding, I know the right questions to ask and like the things that we can go through and like, where can I start to zone in on the imbalance? And once I understand your imbalance, then I can help you transcend that imbalance into a state of health. Not everybody needs to become an Ayurvedic practitioner for themselves to live a happy and healthy life. Learning the basic things of understanding is you can constantly generate a state of health for yourself quite easily.
Well, and you're the expert. So if you need help with your financial situation, you go to a financial advisor, right? So if you need help with your body, you go to the person who can look at it and make suggestions. We talk a lot about filling our cup here. Austin, what do you do? What are some practices? You've been doing this for 5 years, right? So first thing in the morning, what do you wake up and do for yourself? I think that would be really fascinating to know for someone who's really in tune with their body and their own energy and all of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. I snooze my alarm 5 times. No.
Yeah, right. That would be the most amazing answer.
Yeah. Cry a little bit to myself and then I roll out of bed. My goodness. I have a lot of thoughts on sleep as well. But anyways, my morning routine. So I get up, go for the bathroom, scrape my tongue, I brush my teeth, and then I drink. This is like 750 ml water. I usually drink like a half to a full one of these of either body temperature or warmer water. Okay. And then I'll do some morning routine, usually like shifts in length and intensity, depending on how I'm feeling in the morning. But it'll be yoga, pranayama, and then meditation. The yoga can be like some simple, actually I have like I call it my like 5-minute emergency routine. Mm-hmm. It's literally like every basic as fast as you can, move your body on every axis, really quickly, and then done.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, as quickly as that. And then into like, even up to an hour of yoga or something like that in the morning. And then I do pranayama, which we talked shortly about earlier, is like breath control. And there's lots of different types of pranayama practices. 3 that I primarily stick to is first Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing. And then Kapalabhati, which is called fire breathing or shining skull breathing. It's like a forced exhale. Vastrika, or bellows breath, which is a forced inhale and forced exhale. And in this order. And there's a specific reason for this ordering and everything like that.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
And then I'll meditate. My primary meditation practice is japa or mantra, which is, so you use the beads. You count a mantra like on the bead. So there's a lot of like mantric science that I've drawn on from Ayurveda and from the Vedas, and also recently from my studies of tantric yoga.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's really awesome. Yeah, that's a beautiful routine.
Yeah, I usually do that and 3 other things, but I don't want to say them right now.
Yeah, I do that twice in the morning. No.
Yeah, that's amazing, Austin. I love that so much. I love that you're so entrenched in the whole entire practice. I don't even know if you can think about the person that you were the day that you had that enlightenment and that you made that change for yourself compared to the person that you are now. Like, what's the difference?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. And it's something I've actually put some, contemplation into. And I've even asked my mom about, just like, who knows you better than your mom, right?
Oh, yeah. I love that.
I haven't, changed that much as a person, except in the fact that I've really stepped into my true self, truer being, a truer version of myself.
Yeah.
When we're experiencing, and we even have an explanation for this in Ayurveda, is dis-ease. So it's like any state that you're in that's not a state of perfect, comfortable ease, like, I can handle this, I can do this, no pressure, da, 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 da. Or even being sick, it's like you're having sinuses or you have a headache or you have whatever, you're in a state of dis-ease, you're out of balance, you're out of sync, you're out of tune, you're out of harmony or something like this. So through all these different practices and modalities, being able to really harmonize yourself and tune yourself into allows you to be a more vibrant, a more full, a more authentic, more genuine. I know like all these are buzzwords like yoga, living my authentic self.
People use them, but
They're still meaningful.
yeah, they're meaningful. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I like gag myself, like,
Well, this has been so amazing, Austin, and you've been so generous with your time and your information. So we thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a real pleasure to spend some time with you and share some Ayurveda.
All right. Well, have the best night. Stay cool.
Yeah. You as well. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Bye, Austin.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Health That's Personal. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts for bonus episodes and new releases every Wednesday. The Health That's Personal podcast is produced by me, McKenna Udi, and hosted with the Phronesis Health Initiative team, Karen Shively and Sean Tingle. Special thanks to portrait artist Alexander, musical contributor Bernie Ramke, and to our guests and experts for their kindness and bravery in sharing their stories each week.
Please listen, subscribe, engage, and send us topics we can explore that would help you on your journey.
Because health, it's personal.